So as I said, we're practicing a combination of multiple styles of poly with open relationship, with a communication style where we inform each other typically as things are happening or after things happen, rather than asking permission in advance because we've established that it's already given.
Well, yeah, pretty much what happens is the next time we see each other, and it could be a day later, it could be that, you know, a few hours, or it could be 3 or 4 days if we're having a particularly busy week. But just whenever the next time that we see each other, we usually go through the same sort of ritual. You know, I come over, we sit down, we have a drink. This is what we do like pretty much every time I come over, and then we go out and do whatever it is that we're going to do. And it's during that time where things that have happened, you know, since we've seen each other come up. So, oh, by the way, I saw so-and-so and we had sex, or I met this person and I went out on a first date with them. And pretty much after that first time of having sex, there's never a real need to say, oh, well, we had sex again, we had sex a second time, or we had sex a third time. There's really no need for that. The first time, informing, that's enough. And then if we decide that we want to ask about that person, oh, so how's it going with what's his name again, or, you know, what's her name again, and then we can, you know, update each other on how that's working. So it's really up to the person who has had the experience to inform about that first important experience, the first date and the first sexual encounter. After that, it's kind of whatever, and if the other person wants to know an update about it, they'll ask.
What's really different, a changing of the guard when Wicked and I started our relationship, was that we had that from day one. I was already so involved with other people that there was a lot of communication that had to happen. And over time, that ritual that she described became the norm. You know, in addition to, hi, how was your day? It was also this implication of, you know, if anything happened, now is the time to mention it. You know, we don't actually say that, but there's that implication.
Yeah.
And that was missing in my previous relationships. The serious ones that I was involved with when I met Wicked, and of course the don't ask, don't tell one, those previous relationships didn't have an established structure of communication. So we've become big believers in that, and opening up would support that as well, is that sometimes having a communication ritual, you know, broaching the subject, a way to break the ice on strange topics. You know, you've done something that you know you should mention, but you might be a little afraid to bring it up. So having that ritual helps break the ice and make it cool again. Make it a relaxed thing instead of a point of tension.
It would be kind of weird if, you know, if I came over and we had the drink and chatting, and then like 3 hours later you tell me something. That would be kind of strange.
It actually happened once with you.
It did,
and
yeah.
I got really upset with it. It was the first time that she had an experience that she felt she really needed to tell me, and it was hard because it involved a friend of ours. It was a mutual friend, and things escalated a little faster than expected. And so it was kind of a surprise to all of us. And we have a different set of rules depending on how close you are to us. In this case, it was a long-time mutual friend of both of us, so there was an expectation that certain steps of respect would be shown to me since he wanted to pursue her. If it had been a stranger, he doesn't know me, so how is he going to show me any kind of respect? So they'd basically gone on a first date and there was a kiss, and that's no big deal, but since he was a close friend of mine, it was a big deal. And we're hanging out, we go out and we come back to my place, and we'd been hanging out maybe 6-7 hours at that point. We're getting ready to go to sleep. It's like, by the way, something happened. Now at this point, I'm upset with everybody. I'm upset with myself for not having clear communication rules and rituals of how this should go. You know, we should have figured that out, and me being the more experienced partner in various forms of non-monogamy, I should have established those rules. I should have created some structure so that she would know how to talk about a hard to talk about subject. I was upset with him for not talking to me first. I was double upset with him because it was kind of like a surprise to her. They thought they were going on some kind of friendly outing, but the mood changed, and his intention became clear by the end. And then I was upset with her because she waited so long. Like, hey, it's been all night.
Okay, well, to be fair, you remember the reason that I waited is because you were having like a bad week.
It was a bad week.
And it was just like, and you agreed even after, like I told you, you were like, yeah, maybe when you first got there wasn't the best time. There really wasn't a good time that day, but it had to happen that day. And so I was struggling to figure out, like, when was the lesser of any of these evil times. You know, because like none of these times, none of the entire time that we were together that night was a good time to bring it up. But time was running out. And I knew that if I didn't say something before we went to bed, it would be so much worse the next day.
That was one of the few, oh, was there a question? No. That was one of the few ritual communication things that we had established was if something happened, we typically talked about it before we had sex again. There was some kind of respect that we were showing each other, and still do to this day, that we prefer to know about something that's big's happened before we have that kind of physical emotional bond again. Waiting past that felt like some form of cheating or some form of hiding. And so that was part of that time clock that was ticking down. Mm-hmm. If we didn't have sex that night, it was still, even the next day, we probably would have. It was a marker of where we like our communication to be. But that's really us. I mean, everybody, I would bet everybody in this room that has any experience in this matters would have different timing and different communication rules. Some people want to know every step of the way. You know, some people want to go, I checked out a girl across the room. I just wanted you to know that. You know, some people would say when you know, a phone number gets exchanged, or even just the blurry, vague context of intention. I have the intention to pursue this. I would be burdening her if I told her all of my intentions.